guys, today is a special video. We're gonna talk about linking turns, aka connecting corners, and really what goes from doing donuts and power slides goes into drifting. Because now we're going from one corner and we're going to the next. We're not straightening out in the middle, we're not reinitiating, we're actually using the inertia and speed of that first turn to connect us to the second turn. What's really cool about today's video is I've been to Willow Springs a bunch of times before, but I have never in my life connected these two corners. And so what's cool about that is this is gonna be a learning experience for you guys and myself, because we're gonna learn together how we would go about figuring out the right speed, kind of where we wanna set the car to connect these two corners, because every time you go to a new track, you have to figure that out. And so the first thing you really wanna do is road race the track. I always talk about that and I always mention it, but it's really important. Don't, especially on a brand new track that you haven't been to or corners you haven't done before, road race through it and just go like 80%. Be spotting kind of where these outer edges are, the inside apexes, the outer edge of like the next turn as you go out to it. And you also will get a feel for the speed that you need doing that. You're not gonna be going quite as fast as you would when you're actually initiating the drift and going through the corners, but it'll give you that kind of flow. So when you road race it, try to figure out kind of the flow of the track and the flow of those two corners, and then come back around and try it. I always recommend when you try it for the first time after that initial road race, just go for like a midline. Don't try to get real close on any apexes or try to, dirt drop or get really wide on anything. Just go midline. Keep a nice speed. If you go too slow, sometimes you can be timid and mess the whole thing up and mess up anyway. So keep good speed up, kind of similar to that road racing speed, maybe a little bit faster on the entry, and just stay a midline and just try to get through the two corners. And you'll learn a lot from that first initial kind of midline drift. You'll be like, okay, now I know I need to go a little bit faster, a little bit slower on the entry, and then when I come here, I need to go a little bit wider so that I can bring myself out here. And you'll also start figuring out the rate of angle that you need. Sometimes you may want to throw a bunch of angle, right on your entry, which can be sick, but depending on the corner and your speed and all that, that may not be the best. And you might want to go, kind of a shallow angle and then graduate into larger angle and so on and so forth. So you'll learn a lot from doing that midline maybe a couple times and then starting to kind of push it, going wider, tighter in certain places. Quick little pro tip, this right here is why we scout things and run a midline when you're getting started, because this will do some damage or just destroy your body kit. But
this is how you bend control arms.
This is how you break tie rods, which I did yesterday. So, but that's kind of why I say scout it, do a midline. If you can even do a track walk, that's not as common, but sometimes they do it like right before the event. I'd highly recommend it because people are gonna point this stuff out to you and you can actually kind of walk around and find this stuff. But if you can't, just scout it, do your road racing lap. Okay, so let's break down this whole run if I may. So we have basically just two corners. The first thing you wanna do, now that you have road raced it, that's kind of told you how much speed you need. There's a certain flow to every track. Now you kind of know like a base speed that you can work with. So I would do about that same speed on your first entry on your midline run to then kind of see, to judge the rest of it. As long as you're staying on throttle and you're not like footing it, you'll maintain that same kind of flow through it and you should be okay. And then that will kind of teach you if you can go faster or where you need to slow down, things like that. So on this first corner, you can kind of start wherever you want, and this is for every track. So if you wanted to, you could kind of start, way back there, bring it all wide, and go like that. This is quite a fast track and wide, but generally when you're kind of learning to connect corners, you're gonna be on a slower course. But I would recommend the same thing. I would start drifting further back. rather than right at the corner. And that does a number of things. One, it already kind of sets you on a good line and you have more time to adjust your line if need be. So for example, if I start drifting right here and I'm offline, I don't have much time or area to adjust my line or speed. If I start drifting, you know, coming around this corner, I'm drifting this whole corner here. I have plenty of time to pull a handbrake or get on throttle harder and adjust my line before I'm even at this corner. And the biggest thing to remember, guys, is every corner affects the next corner, and it can even affect like 3 corners forward, believe it or not. And that really depends on the track, but sometimes if you mess up that initial corner, you're kind of, the rest of the course is screwed almost, because it takes so long to get your speed up or adjust your line, things like that. So it's really crucial that you get this one right, because it's going to set you up for the second one. So if you're watching this video and you're really trying to figure out how to connect corners, we are under the assumption that you know how to enter a drift and drift one corner. So you've figured out how to countersteer, you've figured out how to do hopefully a clutch kick entry, kind of avoid that handbrake for now, and maybe even a little bit of a feint entry. That's a little bit more of an advanced move, but you can kind of do a bit of a feint with a clutch kick, and that's a really nice beginner entry in my opinion. It holds your speed up a little more. So we know how to do that. So we've entered, we're countersteering, we're drifting here, and we're going around this corner, so we're drifting this way. What do we do next? This is where that kind of pendulum swing and self-steer comes into effect. And you can affect that with how much angle you throw and kind of how aggressive you are on and off throttle. So we're on throttle and we're through the turn. We're basically going to let off throttle, very similar to like if you were coming around a corner and trying to stop drifting. You're gonna let off throttle, but you're also going to let off the steering wheel, and that kind of pendulum effect will happen. If you're at a higher rate of angle and it kind of snaps like that, it's gonna snap harder this way. If you're at a lower rate of angle, it's gonna snap softer. So you can kind of use your angle on your line to affect how much snap you want. Since this is kind of a big corner, I'm probably gonna do like higher angle through like further back in the corner, but then when I come down the straight, I'm probably gonna run a little bit less angle so the snap isn't as hard. And what that does is allows the car to kind of push and float further down this straight. Basically, what's happening in mid-turn is I'm letting go of the steering wheel, coming off throttle quick, letting it transition over, and then I'm catching it. And what I'm doing is I'm catching it, the steering wheel, and I'm also catching it with the throttle. And so I'm getting back on throttle, and now we're actually into that next drift. And now that you know how to drift one corner, you're just doing the same thing again. The trickiest part really is the transfer and transitioning from one corner to the next. And so if you find yourself spinning out on that transition, your car is either too loose, you snapped it too hard for kind of the corner you're at, or you're not getting on throttle fast enough, or you're getting on throttle way too hard. There's like a number of things, but I would always lean towards the fact that it's you and not the car. I tend to do that. And if I get to the point where like, man, I've tried this like 10 times and I've tried it all different variations, it's not working, then I'm gonna go into the pits and I'm gonna make an adjustment on the car. And the easiest place to look is your tire pressure. If you're finding that you're trying to transition, but you can't get it like to really like float out and it kind of keeps catching, then you're probably too gripped up or you're not transferring hard enough. So again, try transferring harder a couple times. If that's not working, then up your tire pressure, loosen the car up a little bit. But really, this is something where that figure 8 exercise we've talked about really comes in handy, because that teaches you countersteering and transitions at low speed and really early on. So I'd focus on just trying figure 8s, doing donuts, that stuff, kind of figuring out the catch thing, and then taking it to corners and really doing it. That's pretty much it. I know it seems like we may be oversimplifying it, but it really is just practice. And always look at yourself first, then the car. That'll kind of keep you from just continually making adjustments and chasing stuff. If you guys are looking for more car setup advice or anything else on how to drift, check out all our other videos, and please, as always, hit that subscribe button, guys. We really appreciate it. And comment below what you guys want us to cover next, and we can even redo videos. We've been doing this for a while, and our videos have gotten a lot better. So if there's old ones that you're like, the video's kind of let us know, and we'll redo it for you guys. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate all love. We're almost at 50K. Maybe we're at 50K by this. I hope so. Anyways, we'll see you guys in a couple days. Peace.